everyone, my name is The Clever Fool. Today we'll be playing the 4th episode of Alaric, The Giant Falls. Now, there is an achievement associated with this one. Rome was destroyed in one day, where we basically have to achieve the main objective of destroying all 12 castles within 30 minutes of game time. I have heard that this is possibly the hardest achievement in Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition to get. I'm not exactly sure what to expect. I'm kind of worried here, but we will see if we can do it. If we can do it, then anyone can. Let's go ahead and get started.
Never had I seen Alaric lose his temper, but Sarus' betrayal infuriated him. He ordered me, his brother-in-law, to commence the siege of Rome. The walls of Rome were huge and had not been breached since Brennus and his Gauls. However, years of decline had weakened the city, and its walls were badly in need of repairs. Inciting the men to battle, Alaric vowed, if the Romans want fire and steel, it is fire and steel that we will give them.
Scary stuff. Okay, so our main objective is to take the city of Rome by destroying all 12 castles within its city walls. And we need to do this before the game timer up there hits 30 minutes. Seems like the game pace is set to slow, but I'm used to playing on a faster game pace. I actually need to take a look at that in a few seconds. Our hints tell us that Alaric's force can support a population of 210. We're already in the Imperial Age, so that's good. Rome is a strong city, but it will be helpless if its walls are breached, and your allies will offer as much help as they can. What kind of hint is that? Oh yeah, your friends will help you with the power of friendship. Your scouts report that the Visigoths are besieging Rome from several directions. Alaric in green leads the main attack on the southern walls, while Ataulf in cyan attacks the western walls, and another section of the Visigothic army in yellow attacks the eastern walls. Ataulf and the Visigoth army have sent word that they are ready to breach the enemy's walls. All that they await is Alaric's orders. The citizens of Rome in red care little for the conflict and are only interested in their own survival, so they will not offer any resistance. So red is just there for decoration. The city garrison in blue and Imperial legions in purple are a different matter. Their armies of infantry, archers, and cavalry will defend Rome with their lives. Okay, so it seems like we have two ways. If this is anything like the old Alaric mission, the main city will be this section here. We'll have Ataulf on the west. We'll have another squad of guys on the east there. And we will need to send scouts over for them to initiate their attack. We do start with 2,000 wood, 2,000 food, 2,000 gold, and 1,200 stone rather. So what I think I'm going to do is I am going to try to boom up on 4 TCs, get as many villagers out as possible, and use mainly husk girls and trebuchets. So that will entail us needing a few farmers at the start, and then transitioning those farmers to wood and gold to sustain our trebuchet production. I'm not going into this completely blind, but this will be my first attempt. Let's just go ahead and see how it goes. Okay, so this is going to be a post-commentary because I had to spend all of my focus on completing this mission in under 30 minutes. It really took all of my concentration. I could not do this live, but I did manage to do it without using any saves, and I did manage to do it without slowing down the game speed. Now, right off the bat, I will say that using saves and slowing down the game speed to get the achievement are both viable strategies. They will help you micro a little bit better. This mission in general is going to be very, very micro intensive because you have to be doing a lot of things at once and managing a lot of different locations at once. So just a little bit of background information. There's going to be 12 castles that we need to destroy here in order to complete the mission, and we need to be able to destroy these castles before the 30-minute mark. Now, straight off the bat, what I'm doing is I'm sending my scout out and about to get the free sheep that are lying around so that I can get some free food at the start. That's relatively fast to bolster my villager production. I have one villager tasked to building a bunch of houses so I don't get housed at the start. And then my remaining villagers are tasked to building a bunch of town centers. What I'm doing with my starting force of Huskarls and Halberdiers is sending them to clear out the western camp here. It's fairly token defenses. The champions might give you, or rather the legionaries might give you some trouble. However, the bulk of your army are Huskarls, and the bulk of their army outside there are going to be skirmishers and crossbowmen, which your Huskarls should dominate pretty easily. And what you want to make sure that you're doing right away is that you are getting your economy set up and you are producing villagers. You want to reach the full boom phase as soon as possible so that you can support your military and so that you don't need to worry about your economy for the rest of the mission. As you can see there, I am moving my scout now back to the right side to get him ready to trigger yellow. You notice that there is a teal ally in the top left. That's your brother-in-law Atulf. And the other Visigothic army in the right side, the eastern part of the map, that you can also trigger. So what I'm doing here is that I'm using my Huskarls to clear out this camp and destroy those towers so that they don't distract my allies once I trigger them. I use my scout to find some more, I guess they're not really sheep, they're like ibexes or something like that. I'm sending them back to my town center. Now, a lot of my initial villagers are going to be going onto wood and food. I do make the effort to research crop rotation right away to save some wood in the long term. It's not crucial to do this. It's actually more important to be sure that you are producing villagers. In the long term, you'll have plenty of wood, but it does help save you some wood in case you are starved here. I don't know if I lose my scout or if I just lose track of him, because I do try to use him later, but it doesn't end up working out. So now, as you can see, I've cleared out all the towers in this western camp with my Huskarls. And I am moving towards my brother-in-law Atulf to get them to begin the attack. So there's actually another route, a secondary route, through the shallows on the far west of the map. The reason why I opted to clear out the camp is so that my ally Atulf doesn't get distracted by the camp and instead decides to attack the heart of the city directly. By making this decision, this allows me to use my computer ally to the best of my abilities instead of having them waste time killing units that are outside of the walls. So here you can see I'm still churning villagers onto wood and food, because that is really, those are the two resources that I need the most in order to be able to boom. I think what I end up with like around 40 farmers and maybe like 30 wood choppers. And I'm not even worried about gold right now, really. I shouldn't have put those gold miners on gold. I should have put them onto wood or food. But really, gold is not the issue right now. I'm not even spending gold on anything. It's really paramount to get as many farmers out as possible, because your natural food will run out very quickly. So now you can see I've split my force of Huskarls in two. One force of Huskarls is going to the southwest there to clear out one tower so that it doesn't distract my brother-in-law. The other set of Huskarls is going to Atulf's camp so that it triggers his attack. And now what I did is I'm actually sending the villagers that I put onto the ibexes at the start. Once they ran out of ibexes, I just sent them over to the to Atulf's base. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to build my barracks, and I'm going to build a castle there after we bust inside. And my main staging base of operations for my military is going to be on the west side here. Always, always, always be churning out villagers. I think I stop at around like 110 villagers. And the nice thing is that after you get the economy set up and booming, you don't really even need to pay too much attention to it anymore. With this big of a boom, you'll never really be attacked significantly. And also, you won't really be needing all the resources that you can get. So later on, my economy is going to fall very idle, but you'll notice that I'm not even focusing any micromanagement on it at all. So here, Atulf's begun tripping down the walls. And we're going to try to get to the juicy underbelly of the enemy shortly. Oh, and you can even see my scout is actually hiding behind those trees, but I lost him somehow. So he didn't end up dying. You can see him on the screen on the right side there. He ended up dying, but I just never used him later. Oh. That was me actually coughing while I was playing live. That's kind of funny. So yeah, there'll be a small blockade to the northeast of those stone miners, and you'll need to be able to get past them somehow. Your scout should be able to make it past them if you're a little bit careful and if he has full HP. But on the off chance that you lose your scout or he doesn't have enough HP, you can just walk 4 husk girls over there. And where I'm going to get those husk girls will be pretty self-evident rather soon. In any case, as you can see now, you want to move some villagers onto gold because you'll start spending it once you start training husk girls. And you also want to move some villagers onto stone because you'll be building 2 castles. You'll be building 1 castle inside Rome's walls, and you'll be building another castle back at home. And it'll be, I'll explain why once we get to it, I suppose. There's the first castle coming up. And as you can see there, I've got a few barracks. And I am producing halberdiers out of them after I did the halberdier tech. Now, one thing you also want to make sure that you don't forget is to build a blacksmith and pick up blast furnace. You don't really need a university. The university in Imperial Age gives you architecture and chemistry, neither of which are all that relevant for this level. So I think I built the university, but it didn't end up mattering whether I researched architecture or chemistry. So, in my opinion, a university is completely skippable here. So you'll notice there that there's a total of 12 castles. There is 1 castle just southeast, and you'll see that trebuchet firing there. It's actually Altolf firing at that castle. If all goes well, Altolf should be able to destroy that castle for you, so you don't even need to worry about it. The more pressing concern is the Imperial legions that are scattered around. Now, the Imperial legions are basically a static force of a bunch of units that kind of sit around the map, and they won't aggro you unless you get within their sight range. This is going to be really, really important because you're going to want to, in the purposes of saving time, you're going to want to avoid aggroing as many of these legions as you can. If you don't have to take fights with these legions, you want to avoid taking fights with them because they spread your forces thin, they take up pop space, and more importantly, they waste tons and tons of time. As you can see here, I am just about hitting the 15-minute mark, and I am producing my first trebuchets. So this first castle that I have, I researched conscription right away so that I can produce my units a little bit more quickly. At this point, you should have plenty of extra wood, so you should task the villagers that built the barracks in the first castle there to build a bunch of more barracks. I built 9, and you'll see why they become useful very quickly. The name of the game is always to be producing infantry units here, taking advantage of the Gothic flood, and having perfusion and 9 barracks will enable me to basically immediately spawn units onto the map as I hit the population cap. So now you can see this bottom castle is complete, and I don't even need stone miners, so I send them to wood. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to produce a trebuchet to treb down the southern castle that my castle there is firing at, and I'm going to research perfusion to increase the barracks production rate, and I'm going to research also elite husk girl there. It's better to do those 2 technologies in the southern castle because you don't need them right away, and you really want your first castle in here up as soon as possible so you can produce as many trebuchets as possible. You're going to want to produce lots of trebuchets, and you're going to want to make sure that they survive. If you lose trebuchets, it's really, really bad because trebuchets are what allow you to attack the castles without triggering the Imperial legions. So as you can see now, with my first couple of trebuchets, I am taking out these 2 castles here, the one that's on screen right now, and there's another one just to the left, it's off screen. And I'm actually funneling a lot of units to this northern area here. So if you see on the minimap, the 3 topmost castles, 1, 2, 3, they're all kind of in a straight line there. I need to take this northeastern path in order to take trebs in this direction to get to all those castles. And because this path is the longest path that my trebs need to take, it basically is like a 3, or I guess you could even say maybe it's even 4 castles deep. I need to get started on this as soon as possible. That's why all of my first few infantry units are funneling in this direction, so that I can weaken the enemy just by funneling units in that direction. Now you can see that my brother-in-law Altolf is actually helping me out by pushing a little bit closer to the center of the city. And we have one of the 12 castles destroyed thanks to him. And as you can see in the eastern side, what I just did was I sent my Huskarls over past the blockade and triggered the yellow team to start attacking as well. So now, as you can see, or as you might be able to see, there are a couple castles that are just outside like the natural sight range in the southeastern portion of the map. Yellow should be able to take care of both of those castles for you. But the one that's kind of like southeast, the easternmost castle there can be trebbed from outside. So if yellow does not manage to get to that castle, what you can do is you can take the trebuchet that you started with, that you destroyed the southernmost castle with, and just loop it up outside the walls to destroy that castle over there. But again, that side is really not much of a concern. The main concern is going to be this push to the north. And here you can see I'm just funneling tons and tons of elite Huskarls in that direction. So I'm not actually even super concerned with the Imperial Legion here, because I am confident that I am sending enough units to deal with them. But the flood is continuing, and I want to send more and more trebuchets. I think you want to get maybe like 5 or 6 or even 7 trebuchets up there, because you need to be able to take down those northern castles very, very quickly before purple overwhelms you. The trouble with destroying castles early is that as you destroy castles, parts of Rome will have their military buildings convert to your side. And what that means is that purple will have fewer locations to produce their military units. And because of that, their forces will actually be concentrated more strongly in certain areas as parts of the game go on. So actually purple, you'd think that as you make progress, purple becomes less threatening, but the opposite is actually true. Purple becomes much more threatening as time goes on. You can see I have maxed my population. This is exactly the situation that you want to be in. Max population with plenty of units queued. And we have the northernmost castle going down. Meanwhile, our trebs are working on pushing towards the center of the city. As you can see, Atolf is a pretty big help here, but my trebuchets down south are going to be exposed and taken down by purple, mostly because their forces were managed to regroup. Now, I did have a squad force of halberdiers there, and you can't just completely ignore the center, because you do still need to make a pretty decent push into the center. But the advantage that you have with pushing into the center of the city is if you have the barracks where I place the barracks, then you can basically replenish your forces in the center of the city ludicrously quickly. Whereas if you find yourself stranded in the north side of the city without a sufficient force, then the jig is up. You won't be able to pass 30 minutes, or you won't be able to do this before 30 minutes elapse. And there you can see I have more units funneling in, and you can see how even though my pop is maxed, I still am somewhat running out of steam in the north side there. And this whole time, this castle that I built in the west side is pumping out trebuchets. That is basically its only job. As soon as I research conscription there, it's just trebuchets, 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 trebuchets. The technology researches can be left to your second castle. So now to counter the Cavs, I'm sending in Halberdier. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to rush these trebuchets, these 5 trebuchets that I've got, over to destroy that castle from across the aqueduct. Now, one thing that you'll notice that I failed to account for is that mangonel. You're going to want to send some infantry over to destroy that siege workshop and destroy the siege weapons that are near it. Otherwise, they will kill your trebuchets before they're able to take the castle down. Here, I actually make a pretty critical mistake, and I do end up losing all 5 of my trebuchets in the north here to a single mangonel, I think. So if you want to play the proper way, or if you want to play perfectly, you want to make sure that you don't lose those trebuchets. You'll see what I mean in a few seconds. And if you notice in the east side, yellow actually managed to do the dirty work for me. I did send my trebuchet over to the outside wall so that I could treb it down. But yellow ended up just taking it down for me, so I didn't even need to worry about it. Thanks, yellow. And there you see, I actually lose all my trebs. And I actually kind of panic a little bit. Now, thankfully, because I had so many trebs there, I was able to do lots and lots of damage to it. So only a couple more hits from trebs, a couple trebs would be enough to do the trick. And here you can see we're really coming down to the wire. Now, fortunately, I've been generating trebs from my first castle since the beginning of the game. So I actually have a few trebs to spare here. I have 4 total trebs. You'd want even more. I probably have more that I just didn't even micro. So I send the 2 trebs alongside some units, get them set up, and have them kill the already damaged castle there. And then now we reach the main event with the central castle. You want to make sure in this moment particularly that you don't over aggro the legionaries, otherwise they will kill your meat shield forces, and they will also after doing so they'll kill your trebuchets, which is no good. But there you can see I'm victorious. I got the achievement in the bottom right.
Sweet victory.
Oh, we did get the past me could not have summed it up any better.
Unlocked it. But that really came down to the wire there.
Absolutely fantastic stuff. GG.
During the long weeks spent besieging Rome, Alaric's calm nature returned. He issued an order to the warriors to spare the city when conquered. In his heart, he could not find the will to destroy the empire he had served, though it had betrayed him one too many times. Our brave soldiers breached the walls, and the defenses quickly crumbled before the weight of Visigothic men rushing into the breaches. Our men looted the city for days. We stripped statues and monuments of their gold, and loaded carts with so many precious goods that the wheels were close to breaking. At the end of the 3rd day, a caravan of ox-drawn wagons carrying plunder could be seen as far as the eye could see. The Romans would write of that day, "In one city, the whole world perished."
Alright. Thanks for watching, everyone. This is going to be The Clever Fool, signing out. See you guys next time.